I don't know. Hi and welcome to the Ruby Tuesday. My name is Ruben and this is my review for the Arthdal Chronicles, a Netflix original series. So this Netflix series is really quite unique and I wasn't sure whether I was going to like it, and I'm still not sure whether I like it, but I should tell you what's unique about it before I actually get into the synopsis of it. It's 10 episodes long, and each episode is an hour and 20 minutes long, and unlike most Netflix original series, they are dropping kind of two episodes at a time, almost. They drop one, and then they drop another the next day, and then a week time they're doing the same thing, but you'll have all 10 episodes by the end of June. So it's a different way to do it. You are still getting the entire series pretty quickly in the month of June. And each episode is almost feature length, because like I said, it's an hour and 20 minutes long, and each episode feels very epic in nature. The Arthdal Chronicles depicts the birth of a civilization and nations in ancient time. It is a story of mythical heroes, their struggle, unity and love of people living in a virtual land called Arth. The storyline of the Arthdal Chronicles is centered around the ancient city of Arthdal, established on Arth. So there's a lot going on in this series, the Arthdal Chronicles, and I wasn't sure whether I was going to like it. In fact, it took me a long time to get into any of it. Just as well, there is a lot to get to grips with. It's basically the story of one group, a tribal nation, wanting to live by themselves, and another nation that has their eyes set on almost world domination, except nation domination. In fact, it's a time when there are no nations, and it's a very interesting story where it depicts kind of civilization from birth. You get to see people, what it means to dream, although dream seems to mean something different in this nation, where dreams is almost fortune telling. You get to see people build things for the first time, mechanical wizards and wonders. And on one side you have a nation that is all about the mechanical stuff and building things and creating things. On the other side you have all this nation about loving the land, and they are super strong, they have blue blood, and they're like very Avatar and reminiscent in that kind of storyline. And then the other side, like I said, you have these guys that are not happy with what they have. They want more. They want to grow the world into something amazing in their eyes. And this other peaceful group has decided they don't want to do it. And what spawns out of that is a battle, and lives are lost, and people are just at war until this domineering nation kind of decides, they're going to keep spreading war and strife and all of that. And out of that births your protagonists. You have multiple protagonists, on both sides. You follow the story of this nation of the Arthdales, and you follow the blue blood people. There is one protagonist, so I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name. I've heard it pronounced many times. This is a Korean series. The language itself, which I think is beautiful. I've heard Korean language before, but I've never heard it quite like this. So let me know if you know of what type of dialect this is. It does seem different. I love listening to it. But that does mean you have to read subtitles, and I do feel like you are missing some of the translation in the subtitles and a lot of what's going on. I have to say, I quite enjoyed this series, but I also quite did not enjoy this series, and for the following reasons. It looks great. The landscape and the setting of this series is fantastical in nature. It's mountains, everything is vast and colorful. The costumes and the kind of the set design, the practical effects with the special effects. So sometimes you have like a lot of blood and gore when there's legs flying and there's an action sequence, and that all seems really great. And then other times there are sequences with CGI and mountainscapes and horses jumping over people, and it doesn't look as good. But surprisingly, at the end of the second episode, which is already aired, I was quite riveted in a way that I didn't know that I was being pulled into the characters. And I have to say, the acting for the most part is okay. It is sometimes quite cheesy. There's these comedic moments that come out of nowhere that I wasn't expecting. Even the music to go with the comedic moments kind of sets the tone for that moment, and then suddenly you have a massacre of people and you're like, whoa, what is happening with this show? So it really has split me in multiple directions. I'm feeling like, this is great. It's going to be something like, it will never take over anything like Games of Thrones, but it's something similar in that, where you have multiple nations all warring at each other. You have multiple factions and families that the storyline continues to follow. It has so much to set up. I feel like there's a vast world for them trying to set this up. And I don't know how much of that they're going to be able to do, but the length of each episode suggests they're going to pack in as much as possible. At the same time, I think they could have taken a lot out of each episode. There is times when you will watch something and they will reveal something in storyline, and then something else will happen, and a few minutes later they'll go back in a flashback and just show you what you've already seen. Like you have a memory of whatever, I don't know, like you have a really terrible memory and you can't forget, I have a terrible memory. Like you have a really terrible memory and you've watched something and you can't remember it 2 minutes later, and so they're going to show you again. So there are whole sequences that they could just probably just cut out. I do think that this series is reminiscent of its culture, perhaps, and that maybe the editing style and the humor is all part of what is shown maybe for this culture, and that is the norm, and so that I'm not used to that. I am trying to expand my horizons of what I watch. I love watching series not English, well, not British, UK or American, stuff like Dark and that kind of series, the Swedish stuff, Australian stuff, and now I'm pushing myself out there towards this. And there were times when I really enjoyed this. And like I said, towards the end of the episodes, there was a moment where I was like, wow, I really don't like what they're doing there. And I was gripped with these characters. And I thought, wow, I didn't see that coming. Where did that come from? But there are a lot of times where I was like, what is this show? It's so weird. They've packed so much in, but they also could have cut so much from it. The special effects are great at times, but the CGI is terrible at times. The acting is good in moments and you feel it, and other times it's just bad. It's a really weird mesh. And like I said, I feel like some of it is culture that I'm not used to, that some of the things represent things that I don't quite understand. I'm going to continue watching it because I'm kind of invested now, which is weird. And I'm hoping that it will continue to spread this story, this world that they've created. There are some mystical, kind of fantastical things. Like I said, the blue blood people should give it away. I kind of like the protagonist. I'm hoping that they really flesh that story out. I wouldn't get invested into too many of the main characters because they have a tendency, like Game of Thrones, to... I'm not going to say who or what or where or when or why, but yeah. And it's a good tactic to maybe allow your viewers not to feel safe, that you never know what's going to happen, because then it does keep you on edge a little. One of the other things I really didn't like about this series, and one of the worst things you can do, and it's a film rule, that you need to show, don't tell. And when you have so much time per episode, it's kind of a sin to tell. There's a lot of exposition, a lot of telling through characters of what is happening, and I guess that's probably comes down to budget constraints in certain parts where you need to tell something because you can't show it. But for the most part, you should show rather than tell. Maybe you show and tell at the same time, which is okay, but it is a rule in film, and it's just like a nitpick. And a lot of series, not just this, a lot of series fall under this, where they want to just tell you about something and they spout exposition for a couple of minutes, and you're like, had you shown me a sequence, I think we would have gotten it. Sometimes I think filmmakers think that the audience is dumber than they are, but I think we are so inundated, we are so submersed into the entertainment culture, we understand how editing and filmmaking and storytelling works, that we will get most of what you are trying to tell us. So yeah, show don't tell. So like I said, I'm really mixed with this Chronicles. Let me know if you're gonna try it. I wanted to give this higher, like a higher rating, like in a B range, because at times it's really good and it intrigued me, and then the other times it's like a D range. So I'm gonna give this a C plus. I'm trying to be fair. For the moment, it's a C plus. I will keep going and see whether this kind of progresses, whether it gets better or worse. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this series, if you've watched it so far. I've got Jessica Jones season 3 review dropping on Friday because the embargo for that is up. I've also got I Am Mother dropping on Friday when that is released on Netflix. But most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.